Cochlear implant is an electronically implanted device that sends electrodes to the brain. And at the time it sounded really scary. I had never heard of it before. It's a lot more popular now, but back then, we're going back, 15 years ago. But after researching, we really thought it was our best option. At the time, there was a lot of controversy. The deaf community, as they call it, was totally against the cochlear implant. They feel like if you're born deaf, that's they have their own community. But we felt that, Thomas was a part of our family. No one else we knew was deaf, and it would be better for him if he learned to speak and hear as much as possible. So
Mom and I had some long conversations about it, and we just felt that Thomas would be better served in the world today if he could communicate and hear language, because that is the way of the world. So we wanted to make Tom as normal as we could to give him the best shot to succeed in life. So at the age of 2, Tom had his first cochlear implant.
He's old. He had the cochlear implant, and but it's not a miracle thing. It still takes forever. He got implanted in December of '96, and I would say for the 5 years after that, it was a struggle. He didn't really like hearing. Sound scared him. And again, through all this, you're going through speech therapy, teachers of the deaf. He had early intervention. I was taking him to the hospital 3 times a week for extra therapy.
Unfortunately, we think with difficult results, because Tom never really wanted to hear, it seemed. He basically kept either turning the equipment off, or, when Mom and Dad weren't looking, he would pull it off his ear. And he liked his moments when he had silence. He really had a hard time adjusting to language and hearing.
We knew that when we decided on a cochlear implant that a lot of therapy was involved, because you have to teach the child or whoever is to learn to listen. And they didn't want us using any sign language. They just wanted us to speak and teach him that way. So we stopped using signs. Still, it was hard not to use some of the signs. So still today, sometimes I find myself using my hands a lot when I speak, because, when I used to try to explain things to Tom, it's hard not to. But he had a very difficult time. I mean, a lot of children do really well with the cochlear implant. For some reason, he struggled a little bit more. We did find out he had a processing problem. So that's why it took him a little longer to adjust to the cochlear implant. I would say the first year, he would rip it off his head most of the time. Little by little, he started keeping it on longer, but we were constantly reinforcing him wearing it at all times. We went for audio therapy, a special therapy for his processing problem. Whether that helped him so much, I don't really know. But we moved to New Jersey. We moved to New Jersey so that he could attend the Summit Speech School. There were a lot of kids with cochlear implants, and he really did well there. Unfortunately, the Summit Speech School, he aged out of that. It's really only for preschool. They let him stay there an extra year, which was great. He stayed a full day.
As we said, was having a very difficult time with this cochlear implant. So Mom and Dad made an effort to try to find a school that may work better with Tom. So we sent him up north to a school called the Summit Speech School, totally dedicated to cochlear implant students. And it was kind of bittersweet. We knew he was going to get great help, but to put him in the car at the age of 4 years old, to take a car by himself up to a school about an hour away, was very upsetting to both Mom and Dad. But they worked really hard with Thomas. They had minimal results early, and at one point had told us that maybe the best way for Tom to go is to go to a total communication program via a school in Neptune. But magically, near the second half of his last year there, Tom started to listen better and grab language better, and they suggested that we put Tom into a mainstream school, which is what we did with some reasonably good results.
First through fifth, he was in special ed class, and the school he was at was great. It was the local public school. His teachers were great. He had his own personal aide, and there were assistants in the class, so there were plenty of people in the class to help him. And again, he had the itinerant teacher from the Summit Speech School who would come about 5 hours a week, and that really helped a lot. She reinforced everything he was learning in the classroom. And she'll stay with him. It's not always the same teacher he has every year from the Summit Speech School, but he will have an itinerant teacher from there until the day he graduates college. So, which is always nice to know that he has that extra help. So when he started middle school, he still was in special ed. The classes were small. He would have speech, the itinerant teacher. There were only like 8 kids in his class, so he did very well in middle school. Towards the end of 8th grade, they took him out of special ed and he started in resource room, which he again did really well.
As Tom was progressing along, the medical professionals told us that maybe Tom would do better if we had a second cochlear implant. So when Tom was 12 years old, we did his other ear, and very pleased that Tom's language and his ability to understand have both improved when he with the bilateral cochlear implants he has in there now. So when Tom has them both on and is paying attention, you would never know by his language that he was actually deaf. He still has some tendencies, though, to enjoy his quiet time, and maybe it's because he wants to get away from his mom and dad telling him what to do and how to do his homework that he turns them off, more frequently than we would like. But he's doing extremely well, and we're very proud of him.
When he first got implanted, they would only do one ear, because when you're diagnosed as being deaf, you still have some residual hearing. So with a hearing aid, you hear some kind of sounds. It might not make sense, but with a cochlear implant, once you're implanted, without the implant on, there is no residual hearing at all. You lose all that. So they always used to only do one, because if anything ever happened, I guess they thought you always had the backup on the other side. But back when Thomas was about 8, they started doing bilateral cochlear implants. They wanted him to be part of the study. We would have gotten it for free. But since he gave us so much trouble with the first one, and he was just starting to show signs where he was starting to progress and do well with just the one, we really didn't want to go with the second one. We just didn't know how he would react to that, and we weren't ready. In 2007, his itinerant teacher and his audiologist suggested it again. By that time, he was
12, right?
about 12. And we spoke to him about it, and the new implants, every time a new one comes out, they're more advanced. With the new one, it would help when he played sports, because when you sweat, with his old one, once he sweat, it would malfunction. We'd have to go have it fixed. It was always a process. With the new ones, it could, we could take that moisture in and not, it would still function okay. So, and they said that they felt that the bilateral would help him figure out where the sound was coming from better. Studies showed that the kids that were getting bilaterals were doing much better. So we spoke to Thomas about it. he was ready for it, so we decided to do it. And again, with the new implant, everything had to be reinforced, much more therapy. But we notice there is a big difference since the second one. He speaks much better when he has both machines on. Sometimes he does like quiet time. We do notice after coming home from school, spending a day at school, he comes home and he just turns both off. I think he just needs that rest from all the sounds throughout the day, trying to listen, focus, with all the sounds that go on in the classroom. We do have in the classrooms, we put tennis balls on the bottom of the desks and the chairs, just so that every little sound doesn't, affect him so much.
Tom's cochlear implants have made him feel sometimes outside the norm of life, and that's something difficult for a parent to deal with. But Tom has found some normalcy for him in the world of competition through the world of sport. He seems to be a very good athlete. He plays basketball, baseball, and now track very well. And now he's excelling at track, and I think it's Tom's way of feeling he belongs, because he competes well, and he's accepted by the group more in the sports world and outside the sports world. So it's been a great remedy for Tom to feel part of normal society. And as he says to me all the time, Dad, I'm going to go to Duke and either play basketball or track. So we hope he continues his passion. It's something he really does love and does do well at, and it will allow him to, have some normalcy in what seems to be, an up and down world of him trying to find acceptance in the hearing world.
A cochlear implant